Ghouls Film Review. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson, and this is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi guys, how are you?
Yeah, and today we'll be reviewing that cult classic, if you can call it that,
Maybe not a cult classic, but a classic movie.
called Gothic, that was made in 1986.
It was done in by the British. Nothing wrong with that, guys.
Hey, I have nothing against the British. They've made some interesting movies, and now in
Had some
in the
damn
past.
fine actors and very damn fine directors. And so a lot of things made in America, or we perceived to be made in America, are actually made in England anyway. So,
Yes. So,
Okay.
who stars in this picture?
let's go through who directed and stuff first.
Okay.
This movie was directed by Ken Russell, and I think he directed 14 movies prior to this, so obviously he had a bit of a track record, so I knew what they're getting for their money.
Right.
Stephen Volk wrote the screenplay. Now, the story, believe it or not, was by Lord Byron and Percy Shelley. It was a fictional account of their weekend at his mansion,
Yeah,
which this story is obviously based about. And as we go into it, Sarah will explain a few things. But yeah, it's fictional. It is not real, but it is based on the real people and some insights in their characters.
Yeah, pretty
How's
much.
that? Yeah. So
Yes.
Sarah will take that away in a moment. Anything we've got to do? Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
let's-
the actors.
actors.
Yeah. Now, Lord Byron. Now, I think he was really cast well. Gabriel Byrne played a really good. What do you call it? Aristocratic sleazebag. Now,
Yeah, Gabriel
I don't
also starred in
Yeah.
Excalibur, who played Uther.
He did, and he
And-
played in what was it? Wasn't he played the devil in a movie, didn't he?
Yeah, I don't remember the
Is that
name.
the Arnold Schwarzenegger
End of
one?
Days, I
End
think.
of Days, yeah, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. He gets around. Now, Julian Sands, he plays Percy Shelley. Now, he was in Rose Red, and he was in some other things as well.
Yeah,
He's not a bad actor,
not bad.
and I think he suits the role quite well. I mean, we've got some really good actors here. Natasha Richardson plays Mary Shelley, and I think really, yeah, why not? A word for me. A lady called Miriam Sear, I think is the right pronunciation, played Claire Claremont. What? That's a lot of imagination, isn't it? Claire Claremont. What is her sister? Yeah.
Yeah,
or
stepsister.
or whatever.
Stepsister. That's what it says in the records. It says
Yeah.
that they're stepsisters.
Yeah. And I won't go into everybody else, but Timothy Spall.
You may know him from Harry Potter.
What did he play?
He played Peter what's his name? Peter Pettigrew, I think. I'm not
Oh,
sure.
whatever.
If I got the-
Pettigrew.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I
I'll have to go and check Harry Potter, yeah. But anyway, irrespective, Timothy Spall played Dr. John William Polidori. And that name got dragged into Mary Shelley's books somewhere along the line, or movies, or whatever. I'm not 100% sure.
the directors put his name in
It's a
there.
good name, hey.
It's a
Polidori.
good name, and it does reference. It's kind of links to Mary Shelley.
Yeah.
That's all. I'm
Okay,
saying.
let's take it away, Sarah.
Yes, so we arrive at the beginning where Mary, Percy, and her sister Claire just arrived at Lord Byron's estate, and they pretty much are given a warm welcome by some fans of Shelley, and till they got a little bit outrageous.
I still can't understand what these girls were doing there. He's on an island.
Yeah, this is like this island is supposed to be one of those it's pretty much.
He owned the island.
He owned the island, and this place he's been banished to because of his horrible affairs with a number of women and a number of men.
The boy got around.
Yeah, so Lord Byron was not exactly the pin-up boy of keeping it discreet.
No, he wasn't discreet at all. Everyone knew he was. Well, everything indicates he was a bisexual. He didn't care who he did it with. You're handy, you'll do. And he's into drugs, opium, laudanum, all that sort of stuff. He was,
Yeah, and
very material
and from what
sort of
we
man, yeah.
and what we studied, we found out that he had an affair with his sister,
half sister, wasn't it?
half sister. Yes.
Or stepsister or
Yeah.
half sister.
Yeah. So technically, he had no, no, he didn't keep himself to himself.
He didn't keep his willy in his proper place. How's that? No,
Yes,
no.
roughly that. So anyway, the guys arrive there without any scrapes. And Lord Byron is no surprise that they arrived because Claire is pretty much wanted to come because she had every reason to be there.
She got a surprise for Lord Byron.
Yeah, she thinks that they have a thing for each other, which was probably just a brief fling of sorts, if you may put it.
Yeah, a quick game of hide the sausage.
Quite right.
Ryan the baloney pony.
Or whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
So anyway, they proceed to get comfortable. You know, how's the weather? How's your latest poem? Whatever.
The voice on a burning deck in his hand. No, anyway.
Yeah,
we won't
they
go
met
there.
up with Dr. Polidori. They introduce each other, say hi, how's the weather, and all that stuff. And they settle in. They start eating some food, and they
started drinking
Yes.
and taking drugs.
Yeah, laudanum, I think it was.
Laudanum was the main drug they were taking, and
Yeah. They were practically drinking
I
the
think
stuff.
laudanum's an opiate. I can't remember now.
I don't know if they've been pouring it into their drinks.
Yeah, they're adding it. It was a liquid form. They're adding it to the wine and stuff, and they were drinking a bucket load of wine. So the laudanum was really getting there. It has lots of different effects. It can make you. It can make you euphoric. Is that the word? Euphoric.
Yeah.
It can make you depressed. It can make you this. It can make you that. It's not a very stable drug.
Yeah, so it wasn't.
Yeah,
so it wasn't.
No, I wouldn't touch it. Folks.
So it's like a typical weekend, like you go to house parties, like in these movies. The people stay for months, and they would often do things like ride horses, hunting, stuff like that.
Sex.
But what Lord Byron and his guests do is less not what you normally do.
Yeah,
Often.
drink, drugs, and sex. Yeah, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I didn't have rock and roll back
They
in those
even
days,
mentioned
did they?
something
No.
about they believe in what did they call
Free
it?
love.
Free love.
Yeah,
I
not
mean,
the hippie era. Yeah, but
Yeah.
a bit earlier.
yeah, but then again, it was probably not. It was probably not this. They probably had a lot more happening back then than
Anyway.
I mean, even though it was a scandal probably back then.
Oh, he
If
would have
you-
lots of scandals, Lord Byron.
And
Some
it
other guys too.
And what went on between Mary and Shelley was pretty much a scandal, because Percy was still married to his other wife.
And who had a child or two, and he
And-
left her, but he wasn't divorced, and saying that was Mary. And
So they kind of
yeah.
Mary
It
and
gets
established
complicated,
that they were married and all that stuff. Maybe much later on, after his first wife died, they then got pretty much married. You know.
anyway, let's get on to the story.
Okay, so anyway, back to the story. They play games. They even read a book called.
Phantasmagoria. It's a book of horror stories that did Byron pick it up locally?
Yeah, he picked it up at
Geneva or somewhere.
Geneva, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
So they sit around reading
These little ghost stories.
ghost stories. They get creeped out, including a bit where the Dr. Polidori put some leeches into the food, and Lord Byron was freaked out because leeches, they just creep you out.
Yeah.
And they threw in the fire.
Little bloodsuckers, and I thought they were only accountants and stuff.
Yeah, so anyway, they continue reading it, and then Claire or Lord Byron came up with the idea of having a competition, so of them to tell each other their own ghost stories. And this was where the idea came into place.
Mary Shelley had a good one, didn't
famous
she?
idea that has been written in history.
Aha! Frankie.
Yes. So
Frankenstein. Yeah.
yeah, and this is where in the scene where Lord Byron suggested that he always wanted to write a vampire novel in a modern day setting. And I know this might come as a shock, but there is a bit of a details I found out online where I thought it was strange that it was actually Lord Polidori who came up with his own vampire story.
Called The Vampire?
But Lord Byron also created his own vampire story,
Yeah, but only a bit of one.
which was half written, as it turns
Yeah,
out.
he didn't do a very good job of it, probably.
Yeah, so he kind of
No inspiration.
yes, maybe or maybe
Writer's block.
might be. Yeah, so it was called. Let me see. I'm looking it up now. Here it is.
Just talk about yourself,
Lord
folks.
Byron's ghost story was an unfinished vampire horror story called Fragments of a Novel. Meaning, in other words, he never finished it.
Bugger.
Yeah, so, although
But Polidori's story, The Vampire, got published, and initially it was accredited to Lord Byron, wasn't it? Until some years later.
shocker of shockers, guys.
That's what probably prompted Polidori to kill himself. I mean, there's different stories about Polidori. Some say he died of natural causes, some say he committed suicide. But when he died, he was broke, so there's a good chance he committed suicide.
Yeah. So anyway, our characters spout on about what stories they should look at doing. They even Lord Byron suggested doing a séance to contact spirits from beyond, things like that. Well,
Now,
using a skeleton.
Yeah, it had a
corpse.
skull. Had a skull.
Yeah.
Now, every house should have a skull lying around in the cupboard somewhere, shouldn't
Yeah,
they?
and he says he got it from a monastery. I think he did.
Well, yeah. But,
Uncovered by a gardener, I think.
yeah.
Yeah, so they come up with the idea of doing a bit of a séance using it.
And they had that, put their hands on the
Yeah,
skull and had a
and-
couple of counts. It looked very nice.
And Mary has a bit of
Lovely
a
table setting. Yeah.
Mary has a brief talk with Dr. Polidori, how she fears death and how she wishes that her dead baby that died prematurely, but she had a dream that she warmed it by the fire and it came back to life. That was where partly her story came from.
It's interesting. Anyway, carry on.
Yes,
We'll talk
so
about it
she
later.
kind of dreams that she could just bring back her baby to life. So
By heat. Didn't Frankenstein use electricity?
yeah, exactly. So
Mm.
anyway, the group starts their séance and something goes horribly wrong. I think where
Well, yeah,
where Claire starts having a seizure, which
yeah,
is
like an epileptic fit.
yeah, and it's been known that Claire has been known to have those fits.
Before,
So
yeah.
this is not
So, yeah.
out of the ordinary
So,
to anyone.
nothing sinister about it, folks. However,
However.
it's a good start.
It's a good start. So anyway, she goes to bed early, and everyone is starting to do their own things.
Yeah,
Like
and-
Polidori's is in his room doing gosh knows what.
We won't go into it too much.
Yes.
But he's a bit weird.
And Lord Byron is having sex with a maid.
Well, that's what maids were for back in those days, wasn't it?
Yeah. And of course, Mary
Rich anyway.
tells Percy that Lord Byron will most likely discard her sister and won't do anything about.
Because her sister told Lord Byron there's a bun in the oven yet.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Although I think in the later scene, Mary mentions it and thinks that Lord Byron was going to discard her sister anyway. And that's what he says in the scene. So anyway,
No, he said something about a miscarriage, didn't he? Something, not
Yeah.
a miscarriage, an abortion
yeah,
or
he
something.
said abortion, that Lord Polidori
Polidori
would
could sort of
most
do it.
likely do it.
Wham, bam, thank you,
wham-
ma'am, sort of thing.
And this is in one scene
rude.
when Mary is just cuddling up next to Claire, in the bed. She sees the portrait on the wall, and this is a famous portrait. I've seen it like 3 times in different versions of Mary's story. Like, I'd seen one in Mary Shelley's movie and The Haunted Summer, which both of those movies had the painting in the background, which symbolized something really important to Mary Shelley's life. The first part I would probably mention is that Mary's mother had an affair with the artist who...
This is before she got married to Mary Shelley's dad.
Yes.
Well, yeah, her, Mr. what his name is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the painting is called The Nightmare, and it has a woman lying naked on a bed
With a demon
on her belly.
Yes, sitting there crouched. Yeah.
And-
You've probably seen it, folks, in other movies and stuff.
And you probably would know it by sight. So
Yep.
it sort of plays a big part to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein in some ways.
What?
Well, I think so. And I
don't know,
keep
but-
wondering. I've been doing some research about this. I kind of kept wondering, did Lord Byron ever own this painting? Did maybe Mary may have seen it in the real life?
I think they bunged it in there because it seemed like a good idea at the time. Because, I mean, Mary Shelley, her mum had an affair with the artist, what's his name, Henry Fuseli.
John.
The artist was Henry
John A.
Fuseli.
Fuseli.
His name's Henry. What are you looking at? Where are you looking at? Well, I got Henry Fuseli. Maybe he anglicised it, changed his name.
Maybe.
Yeah. Anyway,
But let's call him Fuseli, obviously.
Mr. Fuseli did the lots of different artwork, and this piece of art has shown up in a few movies. It's highly unlikely that Lord Byron had it because he may not have known Fuseli, and the whole likelihood of Mary Shelley being at his place and seeing a bit of artwork that her mother's lover painted, it just seems a little bit stretched in the imagination it had.
Maybe. So anyway.
However.
Yes. So anyway.
Good painting.
Shut up.
Oh, sorry. Oh, it's a good painting.
So anyway, something it begins to stir around the mansion, like something is awakened and starts haunting each of the guests and Lord Byron too.
Working on their own fears and stuff.
Yeah, somehow it starts. This thing, whatever it is, came from their imagination, and it's kind of affecting them. We don't know if it's actually real because it could be so much laudanum that they would just drink and cause something. In their head.
As the story unfolds, towards the end of the story, something will come out. But we believe that the movie from here on was a nightmare that Mary Shelley had. We think. Because it doesn't really get totally explained in the movie. Yeah. So Sarah's going to keep telling you the storyline, but when it comes to the end, make your own mind up. And then when you see the movie, say, I wonder which way it went. Don't know.
So anyway, after a few encounters with the creature, it took on the form of something they feared, I think.
Yeah, well, in Mary Shelley's case, it took the figure of a human being. Not necessarily a man, but human-like.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course
Hence the idea for Frankenstein later on.
Yeah, so anyway, each of them seen it, and they suggest that they try to remember the last things they could that brought this creature to life.
Yeah, when they had the seance, supposedly their fears that they concentrated on brought this thing to life. So what they want to do later on is to have another seance and put him to rest again.
Yeah, try to send it back to a heaven, hell, or
another dimension, or wherever it came from. But all back into their imaginations, yes.
Yes.
Who knows?
Yeah, so anyway, they kind of, they try to do the seance in the catacombs underneath the mansion.
Really good. I want a place like this. It's really good, folks.
Yeah, and Mary, she, in her compulsion, in that moment, she actually takes a rock and crushes the skull that they were using for this seance.
Supposedly that would indicate that the soul and the link to the real world, or not soul, the spirit, demon, it was broken and it was going back home.
Yeah, and somehow it begins to blow like a tornado and start chasing Mary, or following her anyway.
Yeah.
And soon enough, she ends up hearing a voice behind a door, probably her son William, I think, saying, "Mama, Mama," and she opens the door and sees possibly her dead son's remains just lying in a coffin. And as she turns and walks out of the room, she suddenly is in a room full of multiple doors that look identical with one another.
Yeah, like a round room with something like 8 doors on it.
Each door looks identical, like no markings, just black doors, and she can't...
Take your pick.
And each one of them is locked from the inside.
A bit like the lawnmower man, hey, trying to get out.
And when she finally does open one of them, she sees something that's going to occur in the future.
Yeah, see, one of them she sees her husband drowned.
Yeah, because in history it does say that Shelley is on a cruise, on a boat.
He drowned or something?
Yeah, and some people think that either he took his own life or he was a bad sailor or, bad navigator.
Or something.
Yeah. And then she sees Dr. Polidori killing himself from drinking
there's different stories about him, but we think he committed suicide. This came in the movie too, so yeah.
Yeah, and in another shot we see Claire giving her baby to Lord Byron, and the kid is dead, and is about 10 years of age, which could indicate
That's right. Yeah.
could actually symbolize two different things: Claire giving up her baby, and Lord Byron losing his child when she was 10 years old.
Yeah, we don't know yet, but whatever. Anyway,
Yes. Anyway, and there's another.
it matters not.
Yeah, and then we see another shot of Lord Byron, in a hospital army tent, covered in leeches. Yeah, whispering, "It's a ghost," like he's calling out to Mary in some way. Oh,
Possibly.
oh, and there's another scene with Percy I haven't mentioned. He was going to get buried, but then he actually gets cremated.
Yeah, didn't Mary want him cremated?
Yeah, something about the fact he couldn't stand the idea of being buried alive.
That's right. Yeah. Hey, there was a movie, not, but there's books written on premature burial. I think Edgar Allan Poe wrote one about premature. When was Poe around? About the same period?
No, I think it was a few years later. I don't know.
Edgar goes back a tad, and he was a bit weird.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so pretty much the body is pretty much gone. Oh, incidentally, that's not in the movie, but I found out that Mary Shelley took Percy Shelley's heart and kept it in a desk all throughout her life.
A bit smelly.
Most likely. Anyway,
Ew.
yes, and later on, after his last son, passed away, who's also named Percy, so you know.
Great imagination, folks.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Percy Jr. or whatever. He took his father's heart and buried it with him, and all that
lovely.
in the family crypt.
Ooh, nice.
Yes.
Well, anyway, carry on.
So Mary's about to end her misery by taking her own life.
Yeah,
and
to go to
and
top level of the house, we've got a couple of
and reasons
balcony,
that if she dies, none of this stuff will ever happen, or something.
Or she doesn't want to see it happen, doesn't want to be around for it.
But luckily, Percy comes running into the room and tells her that the storm's passed, everything's over and done.
Yeah, it's okay now.
But Mary does doubt this.
And anyway,
the next morning she wakes up and realizes that this creature has revealed their punishment that awaits them in the future. In the future.
Yeah, like an enlightenment. And because she goes downstairs, wandering around, everything seems normal, and she meets the people outside.
Yeah, everyone is like nothing's ever happened.
Like not last night never happened. Paul Dory supposedly died that night, or hurt himself severely in his bedroom.
Yeah.
And he was fine and happy and chirpy, and everyone was great.
And Claire is all happy, like she's no longer possessed by the weird creature, I think.
And I think Byron said something like, "There's no ghost in the daytime" or something or other. Or
and he remarks that you will get used to our fun activities. A little indulgence while we abstain on this cruel world.
Yeah, he's really a weird man.
But he does have a point. I mean, the idea of no ghosts in the daytime, things are cool. And of course, they bring up the contest again, saying, "What is your idea for your
then
story?"
Then she starts to narrate the idea of writing Frankenstein.
Yeah, she says, "My story is all about creation, about a creature miserable, and with pain and suffering, and haunts its creator and stuff like that till the very end."
Yeah, and you would think that night.
Yeah.
The second night, they sat down there and started writing. Or that day, they started writing the novels. Who knows?
Who knows? Anyway.
So, irrespective.
Yeah. So the story flashes into the present. We see tourists running around, looking at the actual location of Lord Byron's, castle, and a narrator is talking about what has happened in the past.
Yeah. Who did what to whom and when they snuffed it and whatever.
Yeah, so it ended, and there's an interesting bit at the end that I can't really tap into really well, because we see under the waters a dead infant
Yeah, well, that's a bit of surrealism thrown in there, I think.
Yeah, it leaves it up to the imagination.
Now, that's all the end of the movie. But Sarah was looking into a few things about Byron. Now, I believe you said something about he fought with the Greeks in the Spanish War or something, wasn't it?
He did.
And he died there, and that was part of the premonition that Mary Shelley had.
Yeah.
What else we have? And Byron, he was broke when he died, but he had a lovely dog called something or other. I can't remember his name at the moment. Let's just call him Rover.
Yeah.
Now Rover died, and Lord Byron made a mausoleum for the dog. Much better than you get from the average human being because he loves his dog so much. For all you dog people out there, isn't that lovely?
Yeah, and over the years he collected some bizarre pets.
Oh, yeah.
Not just horses and dogs and cats.
Yeah,
He
monkeys
had
and stuff.
monkeys, goats, snakes, you name it.
He
had it.
His own little menagerie.
Yeah, pretty much a little bizarre when you look at it.
How bizarre.
He even had a few. It seems interesting, that type of thing. He had an interest.
Well, if you had your own zoo, what would you have in it?
Good point.
I know. I got a cat. That's a good start.
Yeah, and another thing about this, in this, Gabriel, who throughout his role, he walked with a
bit of
limp,
a limp.
and carried a cane, because the Lord Baron in real life, he actually had a club foot.
Well, they think it was a club foot. I mean, it's been reported as a club foot, but they might have had some sort of just a deformity of some description or didn't form properly. But it's been referred to he had a club foot. But yeah, so why would they take him into the army if he couldn't walk very good?
Well, why did they have to?
Cannon fodder, folks.
Yeah, quite right. So anyway, let me see. As I said before, let me see. In Gothic, it predicted Dr. Porus. So let me see.
Just talk about yourself.
According to some research I've been looking at, there has been a lot of people who speculate that Claire may have had an affair with both Lord Byron and Percy Shelley, but there's no exact evidence.
And the monkey.
But in her journal, it says differently. She describes her and Mary and Percy's relationship. She describes it that she and Mary are his wives.
Yeah. So actually, if you look in the biodrama of Mary Shelley, there's hints of free love, and that sort of thing, and they indicated an unnatural attraction for each other. Even though you don't see anything happening, it's indicating that they had a more than just a friendly acquaintance, sort of shaking hands sort of relationship. So there's a good chance, if they were into free love, chances are he was using both of them, even though Mary Shelley was his wife. She was his bit on the side. How's that?
Yeah, whatever. So another scene with Shelley, Percy Shelley, so you're not confused. He's on the rooftops and he's, fascinated by the lightning and thunder and yada. And as he comes down from the roof, Lord Byron says to him, Shelley, the Modern Prometheus.
Oh, yes.
When it was first published in 1880,
Frankenstein book, yeah.
1818,
I know.
Mary Shelley's novel was called Frankenstein, or the Modern Prometheus. Mike, well, you said before that you were asking me about what Prometheus might mean.
I don't know my Greek mythology all that well, but I believe Prometheus had something to do with taking the power of the gods and abusing it or doing something with it. So, yeah, the power of the gods, well, lightning would have been the power of the gods back in those days. So, yeah, and the Modern Prometheus. So, and they use lightning in the novel to energise the beastie, and hence we had a good story.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me see. What else have I established?
Lots of good groovy things, folks.
So let me see. Yeah, let me see. Oh yeah, the real Mary Shelley in real life kept the remaining heart, as I said before, in the body, and as I said, well, never mind. I won't bother mention that.
So you said it before. Okay, you've had enough. Enough trivia.
Sorry. So, how do you rate this movie, Mike?
Well, I'm just trying to think. I keep going through movies. I look at continuity and costumes. And look, everything came together. It's a good movie. Okay.
You agreed.
My only problem is it was, to me, I do like a faster moving movie. However, this movie goes along at a good pace. It's not an action horror, it's a drama horror, so there's going to be some quieter parts in it, developing characters and that sort of stuff. And so, yeah, I like a bit more movement in it. Yeah, I'd give it like 9, yeah. No, I won't give it 9. I'll give it a 9 only because I think they could have done a little bit more to it to make it a little bit more energetic for my liking.
Well, it is a little bizarre, and as I think you mentioned earlier that it wasn't the box office.
Oh yeah, it died miserably at the box office. Hang on, I got some stats. Oh, wow, excuse me, I've got a sore arm at the moment. Yeah, it cost about, I think, $4 million. Yeah, $4 million to make it. Yeah, get ready, folks. It made less than $1 million at the box office.
Ooh.
However, when it hit home media, back in those days, VHS and beta tapes, because it didn't have DVDs, when it reached that level and probably TV syndication and the like, that's where they made the money on it. So it wasn't a great commercial movie, but it's a good, let's say, a television type movie. You had that's why I think it's worth a 9.
Well, it is a bit bizarre and
a
little bit of a not just bit of this is not just like another biodrama. It's
it's a horror movie. It's definitely a horror movie.
It's got a bit of a horror and
there's a funny bit. Actually, it's more like I'd say it's more like I wouldn't say a black comedy, but it's a horror drama. It's a horror drama with a bit of satire thrown in.
Yeah, this is just like when we did the Shadow of the Vampire that time, where using real people and a mixture of fantasy.
That had a bit of satirical stuff in it. Not quite a comedy, but some funny bits thrown in a black sort of a dark way. So So I'd say a satirical horror drama. So I'd give it a 9 quite comfortably, and I'd definitely say it's a good watch.
Yeah, most definitely.
And I believe it's available all over the place. I think you can get it online, and you can get it probably at Amazon and different places because it's. I think I saw it recently. You can get it, and so it's if you can't get it from your local video shop or DVD shop, whatever, see if you can buy one online from Amazon or eBay. I would go for it. It's a good movie.
So, second that. So I would probably rate this movie probably 9.5 out of 10. Too. I mean, there's room improvement, but sorry guys, just choking.
She got a frog in her throat. Ribbit.
So I probably would. I mean, there's room for improvement, and as I said before.
Yeah, and have a drink of water. Da 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 da. Is that better?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, as I said before, there's room for improvement, and sometimes the symbolism does give me clouds of a little trying to work out the clues in the movies is a bit of a trial.
Yeah. See, my problem with the movie was the fact that there was that doubt of a few things happening. Was that Mary Shelley's dream?
Yeah.
Was it not? But it looks like it was Mary Shelley's dream, but there was no clear change in what's happened. They said, we're doing this, let's have a seance, yada, yada, yada. There was nothing in the early parts to indicate a change events. It just looked like it was an ongoing story. And in the end, it looks like she was having a dream or fantasizing or having a really bad...
Or maybe the others were so tripped out that they didn't realise the real danger they summoned.
No, look, the point is that her sister was down in the basement naked eating dead rats and different things. I think she would have remembered it,
Yeah.
She woke in the morning, everyone's happy and smiling.
Yeah. But there was a cut on Mary's head that indicated that all the other stuff was real.
She might have bumped her head.
And there was, and her nightgown or whatever was covered in dirt and mold and whatever that from her untimely adventures during that night.
Well, possibly, but the point still remains is that there's no damage done to anybody. Polidori, even if he didn't die, we saw him one part there smacking his hand against the wall with a nail sticking out,
Yeah.
making a hole in his hand as blood all over the place.
Yeah,
And
think
he
of it
didn't have a
as
hole in his hand the next morning, did he?
yeah, think of it as Jesus getting his hand punched
Yeah,
in the
it was instead of self-flagellation, which is when you whip yourself, whatever. He was bashing his hand against this nail to punish himself for having evil thoughts and whatever.
Yeah.
But so he didn't have the damage in the morning. So you think, was
Yeah.
it a dream? Was it her what do you, I don't know what you call it when you get a bad trip nowadays. She had a bad trip on the laudanum. I don't know. And she just fantasized. Don't know.
Don't know.
And that's why I can't give more than a 9. There's a bit of a grey area in there.
But who knows what went on
Too grey.
at the estate? I mean, they could have had a séance or something. I mean, even Alice Cooper had a séance on figuring out the name of their band for gosh knows reasons.
Oh yeah, that's hearsay. I mean, but the story goes they had a séance, and did they raise a witch or something, and the witch's name was Alice Cooper or
something about that.
from the old Salem
Using
days or something.
a Ouija board.
Yeah, and so that's a good name for the band. Now that could have been a story made up sometime after the band started, just to make it sound really good. But I don't know about that one.
I thought it was pretty cool.
I do like Alice Cooper though. He's one of my
He
heroes.
rocks.
Yeah, even he's an old bugger like me now, and he can still do it.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks for watching this latest podcast.
Hey, you didn't watch anything.
Listen to this podcast. So, I advise you guys definitely check out Gothic and make sure you put your own comments about it on our YouTube on our channel. So, thanks for listening to this podcast. This is Sarah Stephenson saying, "See you around."
This is Mike Stephenson. Until our next encounter. Goodbye.